Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. Oh my gosh, look at that panel of Batman. You have the Absolute, you have the Deluxe. DC Comics firing on all cylinders.
Batman! 66 Compendium on Near Mint Condition. What's going on, everybody? My name is Dom of X, Near Mint Condition Manager, ComicReleases.com Associate Editor, and today we have the furnishings and the final finishes of this expanded compendium of Batman 66. Yes, that TV show that gave us Adam West starting as Batman, and Burt Ward as Robin, and Cesar Romero as Joker, and a whole bunch of other characters that I will get into in just a bit. I also want to tell my interesting story with not only this franchise, but also with the movie, Adam West, and also, again, what's in this book. Here is a look at the front of the book. This is the cover to issue number 11, which is, of course, drawn by Michael Allred and colored by Laura Allred, featuring, again, all the characters that I had mentioned in there. Of course, you have Yvonne Craig as the lovely Barbara Gordon, and then, of course, Julia Newmar for Catwoman. Lee Merriweather obviously took over the role, but again, that is a different story for a later time. Here is a look at the compendium, at least on its spine. And if I may, and then a closer look at the spine with, we got a rope and a grappling hook from Mr. Robin and Mr. Batman on the spine with the compendium here and thereof. And then here on the backhand side, we also do have the Robin and Batman in the Batmobile with the same bat style, all new Batman adventures, along with the synopsis and the collected edition material, which again, we will get into just a moment. So let's go ahead and dive into the compendium. All right, let's go ahead and take a flip through the Batman 66 compendium. Its stories and sides, of course, Jeff Parker, Michael Allred, Laura Allred, and Jonathan Case here on the main front. But I do think that even though, yes, a good chunk of them are the main creators for the title, there were so many other different illustrators and other different writers on this book that I think it would have been cool for DC to place some more emphasis on them as well. Of course, Jeff Parker writes most of the stories in here. You have Michael Allred, who does all of the covers to this book, with the exception of a couple of the variants, but we're going to see that in just a bit. The first thing I want to do note is we do have the you know, the spinneroo transition thing that I just love that we have taken cues of in almost every single funny cartoon that I have watched in the years that I have been on this planet. We turn the page, we can see on the left-hand side, we do have the halftones and the shadow, who's casting a light against our daring heroes. And then on the right-hand side, we do have the creators who have worked on this book. Although I will notice, Len Wein, who wrote the lost chapter or lost episode of Batman 66, is not listed in the writers here, which I do find interesting. But you will see that, yes, people like Mark and Draco, Art Baltazar, Mike W. Barr, Gabe Story, Rob Williams, they have worked on different stories for this specific title. And then you have Jonathan Case, David Hahn being the main artist, but honestly, this has a complete list of creators that have just worked on different issues of the book. You have some creators such as Joe Quinones, who drew one of my favorite stories in this book. Michael Avon Oeming has a couple of chapters to shine in this as well. You got the inkers Carkessel, Joe Prado, who I think I most know from inking Ivan Reyes, or being one of Ivan Reyes' main inkers, along with Eau Claire Albert, Tony Avina, Laura Allred, Jordi Belair, Jonathan Case, even himself on his issues anyways, Matt Wilson, Lee Louveridge. There's a lot of top-end colorists, along with Wes Abbott. Another, again, this is just me pointing it out, but they did misspell Wes Abbott's name as far as being the letter is concerned. Collection cover artists, of course, Michael Allred, like I had mentioned earlier, and of course Bill Finger, along with Bob Kane on the creation of the Batman. Here on the left-hand side, we can also see where it is exactly that they have printed it, along with the editorial information, publication information, and everything else alike of the sort. First printing printed over at the Salisco printers over in Canada, the same folks who have been printing all of the DC finest trade paperbacks so far. And of course, featuring Michael Allred drawing the lovely Miss Lynda Carter as Wonder Woman. And then on the right hand side, we do have the table of contents, and as you can see here, we also do have the original listings for these digital chapters in which these issues first appeared, and this was a digital first book that they later published out to print in the same way that they did for the 2013 Batman Beyond series that is getting a compendium later this year. So I have to give a big shout out to DC for getting a lot of the respective table of contents correct in that case. And again, just a big shout out to them overall for getting this book out and also expanding it. Now, what do I mean by expansion? Well, this specific collected edition is still a big chunky book at 1,008 pages. So this is a bigger book as far as the collection is concerned, and instead of that being 928 pages, the subsequent issues have been added to this $60 tome. The following issues are Batman 66 issues 1 through 30, or the reprinted issues of the digital chapters that I just listed earlier, along with the lost episode that is written by Len Wein. But not only do we have that, we also have in this specific book is collecting the Batman 66 meets Wonder Woman 77 issues 1 through 6, along with Batman meets the Legion of Superheroes issue number 1, which is by the Allreds. You got Lee Allred, Michael Allred, and Laura Allred specifically on that book. Now, one thing I will note specifically in the creation of this compendium, because I know that people have been asking, well, the original 66 Omnibus didn't have all of the issues either, just as much as this compendium doesn't have the every single issue that they have done in relation to Batman 66 in and of itself. It is still missing Batman 66 meets the Green Hornet. It's still missing Batman 66 meets Steed and Mrs. Peel, along with Archie meets Batman 66, and Batman 66 meets the man from UNCLE, or Uncle. I also do not believe that DC will ever have. I don't ever want to say never, but it might be a while until DC gets the rights to publishing. I do not believe at this moment that they have the rights to publish those issues, nor will they, I think, ever have the right to. The one issue that I did not mention is the Batman 66 meets the British Avengers, which was originally published. If I get this correctly, it was originally published by IDW. It was still a 6-issue series. That is also not collected in here. So unfortunately, this is still not the complete look, but I still do think that it is really cool that they have managed to put all of Batman 66 out, as much as they can anyways, in a compendium. Let me go ahead and tell you about my story with Batman 66. Well, and along with, well, what the heck is this? Yes, this is Adam West Batman. This is Burt Ward Robin, or Dick Grayson. This is the enigmatic and complete realization of the TV show and the movie from the 60s into comic print form. Now, these aren't the adaptations of some of those episodes. It's not a full over adaptation like we saw with Star Wars. This is something that is completely new here and in thereof. It's not something that is just a retread of something that was in the past. It also does feature, of course, plenty of the characters that popped up in that TV show, including our good friend Alfred, who was played by Alan Napier, if I'm getting that correctly. We also still have Jim Gordon, who is still a commissioner, Police Chief O'Hara, who was created for the TV show. Don't remember the actor's name off the top of my head. We also still have the wonderful, in my eyes anyways, Yvonne Craig as Barbara Gordon, specifically in this comic book. Again, all thoroughly realized and made for this specific 30-issue series that you are seeing here. We still have characters such as the Penguin, King Tut, Victor Buono, who I believe was also in here. King Tut, man, I have a lot of weird and interesting connections. I believe that King Tut was also in a Gotham Knights issue from the 2000s. And I only remember that because he tried to kill a woman who was in his sarcophagus. And I was surprised to see that King Tut was also in this book as well. We also get to see some of the adaptations of more familiar characters to us now that obviously weren't around in the 60s, such as Harleen Quinzel, who also gets a fair time to shine in one of the digital chapters that is reprinted in this book. So you are getting brand new adventures with all of the likenesses of the characters and all of the actors who were in the past. So you are getting that same vibe as you were in the 60s in this specific collected edition. And it is still not only just the same vibe, but Jeff Parker, who I think is one of the more underrated heralds and scribes that we've ever had in comics for the last 20 years. I had first experienced his writing in the pages of Aquaman, has found a way to create a balance between the hokiness of the 60s adaptation of Batman, the Silver Age type likeness of Batman, of course, the Rainbow Batman, Zur-En-Arrh before Grant Morrison retconned the entity into something completely different, and he's found ways to make this book as appealing as possible to somebody maybe like me, who I don't mind 60s Batman. I think it's great for its time. But if you were to ask me who your favorite version of Batman is, I don't know if Batman 66 would be the right answer. But getting to see all of the different artists, whether it's Joe Quinones or Michael Avon Oeming or Dean Haspiel, it isn't just Michael Allred, it isn't just Jonathan Case, it isn't just David Hahn who are the main players of this book. Everybody gets a different shot and chance to create these visualizations of these actors before, and it feel like you're actually reading some of their adventures in this comic book. And the way that Jeff Parker likes to dictate a lot of the stories, I feel like anyways, as if you're actually watching this TV show. My experience, and I will get to how I got into Adam West in just a bit, with Batman 66 is from the Lego video games. The Lego video games for Batman were my first introduction to this character, and specifically the way that the Lego games would emulate the formula. You would have certain levels where the Batman 66 theme is playing with the da-na-na-na-na, and you would then have, if Batman was doing something, you would get the wow and the sound effects that come along with those specific Lego games. They're all emulated in here, from the way that the scripts are written to the comedy to the banter between Batman or Bruce Wayne and either one of the characters that he's interacting with, whether he's in a regular conversation with Dick Grayson or with Alfred or with Commissioner Gordon or with Chief O'Hara. They all feel like it was specifically made. If these were scripts for a TV show, like, it feels like you are in the pages of the 66 show. And I can't give enough credit to Jeff Parker for creating the atmosphere, for setting the light and tone for this specific book. And something really recently that reminded me of this was the Batman Santa Claus crossovers that he's done recently with DC that have, I feel like anyways, a lot of the same tone here. So it's by no fault or any of his own. Like, I do think that Parker has mastered the way to balance the comedy and balance the way that this book needs to handle for something as ridiculously over the top sometimes that 66 is in its tone and in the way that it handles that specific version of Batman. Now, me as a kid growing up, I had watched The Fairly Odd Parents, and that was one of the 4 shows that I watched on Nickelodeon as a kid. I remember that. I remember Jimmy Neutron, The Boy Genius, another show that also crossed over The Fairly Odd Parents, SpongeBob SquarePants, of course, and Avatar: The Last Airbender. So those were the 4 shows that I grew up with. Now, the reason why I bring Fairly Odd Parents up is because Batman 66, Adam West, shows up in the show not as Batman, because of course you can't have Batman popping up in a Fairly Odd Parents cartoon, but he was Catman. And Adam West would voice the character, and he would pop in there for some specific episodes, whether it is, he's trying to help Timmy, who is the protagonist. Fairly Odd Parents is a show about this kid who gets to have these 2 godparents that grant him wishes. These fairy godparents grant him whatever wish possible, and sometimes Adam West would pop up and star along with him. Now, I had no idea as a kid that this guy who was playing Catman actually played a character, of course, named Batman, who I would consequently grow up with as a child, in the 66 TV show. And I find it interesting that Adam West has just been everywhere, and he has made it it's really hard to separate him from Batman. I think a lot of people, they obviously get the kicks from the 89 movie, but who didn't want a piece of the ridiculous insanity that is the pages and the show of the Batman? And every single issue, or these digital chapters, also feature and focus on different aspects of the lore in this specific Batman universe. You will have pop-in characters. You will sometimes have issues that star Batgirl or Catwoman as, the antagonist. There are plenty of places throughout for this specific series. So it's not, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily the, this long, sprawling, ongoing, but it just happens to be so that these characters are set in this specific universe, in this specific part of time, with these specific sets of rules that they have in place. And it's not something, again, that you would go and it's not your Scott Snyder Batman. It's definitely not the same tone as the Bat God or the Bat Legend that Grant Morrison built up. But it does feel like its own separate thing. It feels so 66. And I know it just feels so, unfortunately, shallow to say, at least in that case, but I really do feel like that this captures the tone beautifully for the pages of Batman and whatnot. And it's also hard to throw up some of the instances of these characters that also get, a good shine of the spotlight. It's not just Bruce Wayne getting in on the action. It's Batgirl getting some of these focus issues where sometimes she gets thrown into the maze of Cleopatra, or she has to do a makeover. And it's great in the fact that it isn't just specifically on Bruce. I do like that this series does tend to focus and balance a little bit more in the case of, obviously Batman and Robin are going to be the main people, but you are going to be getting some focus on a lot of the other characters too, all up in this case. And I have to give not only those creators the credit, but I also have to give Wes Abbott, who does all of the lettering in this book for the font choice, the SFX, and the dialogue fonts as well. I can't tell you how many times that I do think we have to emphasize how important lettering is in the terms of creating a comic book, because sometimes if you have poor font choice, if you don't have great sound effects, you just can't hit all of the emotional beats, I think, as well as you can. But the way that, whether it's a WoW or it's the Bat with the yellow text over, I do think that Wes was successfully able to create and set the tone perfectly that Jeff Parker laid upon him in the certain issues of the scripts. And it is a testament to just how well that this book has worked, because I don't think in any case it's hard for me to get into stuff like this. It's, you know, again, like this isn't the Batman that I necessarily grew up with. I hadn't reached out to ask somebody, hey, can we watch Batman 66? You know, it wasn't something that I ever had an affinity for. But I do have to applaud the folks for creating this experience in these digital chapters, so that everybody who might not be on tune with Batman, I also get a shot to just feed into the character and understand, well, who is this person and whatnot. I do want to make a highlight of some of the issues in here that aren't necessarily the Batman issues or the main 66 issues, but the issues that they have added. And the first one goes for the Lost episode, which was also, again, collected in the Omnibus. They did not have a chance, at least this is what I have read, of adding Two-Face into the fold of the Batman 66 universe. He was never in the TV show, at least from the episodes that I have watched. I don't remember him, being there, movie or anything of the sort. So they had a chance to add Two-Face into the specific title, and who better than to get Alex Ross in on the cover, and who better than for Len Wein and Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. Of course, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, the main illustrator of the DC Style Guide back in the 70s, to establish something where Two-Face could organically be a part of the show. I think the same case goes for not only that, but also the way that the issue is structured. It does feel a little bit different. It does feel like you actually are sent back in time into the 60s, with just how such a big contrast of how Jose Luis Garcia Lopez's style is into Michael Allred, Luke Kettner, or Joe Quinones, or Dean Haspel, or any of those guys, right? So it's a nice contrast to see, because it really does feel like you are reading an old script that was just unearthed, and they said, you know what, let's go ahead and visualize it for as much of the folks here as possible. And the same goes for all of the other issues that they have added onto the end. And those are, believe it or not, the first issues that I have read, because I actually, oddly, have a longer history with watching Wonder Woman 1977 with Lynda Carter than I do with Batman 66, as I did not grow up with Batman 66, but my dad was a big Lynda Carter fan, and I had known Lynda Carter from that. So as a kid, I watched a lot of stuff that Lynda was in, and it was very, very difficult for me as a person, as a fan of, or young fan of these characters, to how many years later say, I finally have a shot to see how Batman and Wonder Woman, or Adam West and Lynda Carter, would interact and cooperate together in a setting that requires the two to be a part of this larger universe. And of course, those two being 11 years at the time, or 11 years apart in terms of the 66 movie, along with Wonder Woman coming out in 1977. With Lynda, and we also get an introduction to a couple of other characters introduced, and I don't want to spoil the whole thing if you guys have never read it, but we do get introductions to two very, very important foes slash I'll just call them antagonists, because I don't feel like it's right to say, at least for one of them, because one of them has been at the long-awaited side of Batman for a good while, at least in the 80s anyways. Anyways, those are the Al Ghuls who are introduced into the lore of Batman 66 with that specific 6-issue chapter, which were also digital first. And we also get those co-written as well, with Mark and Draco joining the fray for this specific book. I really do like the way that they draw Lynda Carter as well. I do think that they found they found a really good composition with her. And I'm speaking, of course, of David Hahn, who illustrates the entirety of the 6-issue series. And I, of course, like seeing Nazis get beat up and burnt to a crisp, as we do have here in the main part of the series. We also get to see the introduction between these two, and also a brand new character who's also introduced into the fold as well. There are long-lasting relationships that are going to be forged and also broken because of in this 6-issue miniseries and the way that it ends. It gives me tingles. It gives me goosebumps to see these characters interacting with each other in a way that I had never, again, originally thought that they possibly could. But we also get introduced to Amazonian lore in this specific era. So you do get a mix of everything. You get to see how Lynda Carter's Wonder Woman is portrayed in the pages of the 6-issue series, and this really is the highlight of the book for me. I will also say, in retrospect, and in addition to this, we also have the one-shot of the Legion of Superheroes being thrown in here, which is, again, all done by the Allreds, and I had a lot of fun with it. It isn't, I think, as deep as the Wonder Woman, Lynda Carter, and Adam West Batman team up, but I did have a good chunk of fun with it. You get to see a specific version of the Legion of Superheroes being interacted with the Batman crew, with the Batman cast. But you also get to see Michael Allred draw the Legion of Superheroes. I think in a perfect world, you probably would have had Michael on a Legion of Superheroes run at some point if it hadn't been for DC deciding to reboot the Legion of Superheroes a subsequent amount of times since the pages of Zero Hour. But we do have Michael Allred drawing Brainy and Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl and all of these amazing characters who are just a part of this. Along with that, we do get a little bit of a board game in it as well, so you get to play alongside with the two. So it is just as interactive for us, just as it is for Batman and Robin and everything else. And then we also have Batman A Go-Go, which is a story reprinted from the pages of Solo that does, of course, feature Batman, Alfred, and also, well, we got a newspaper in it. What's going to happen with the Riddler? There's a lot of fun to be had, and this is definitely a book that I did not anticipate as having as much fun with. But I will forever be thankful for Omar sending me this way so that I can talk about it with you guys. Well, we do have a San Diego Comic-Con cover here on the right-hand side with stick figures. Don't want to say stick figures. Kevin Maguire, one of the main men from JLI, illustrating that cover along with Cully Hamner. And then an issue cover of 66, issue number 4, variant by Chris Sprouse, Carl Story, and Wes Hartman. Chris Sprouse, of course, one of the men behind Tom Strong. And that is that. Now, if you're looking to buy this Compendium Batman 66, please check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltzcomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more.
And that is going to be it for me. The same bat style being brought to you from Near Mint Condition. Please let me know if there is going to be a shot of you buying this compendium, and if you are going to be getting it for the specific reasons of maybe it's the issues being included and whatnot. That's going to be it from me. Please stay safe, everybody, and have a wonderful day wherever you are.